In congressional news, Republicans...
Welcome to a new episode of On Point with Politics. I'm Kimberly Keggy.
And I'm Jake Berlin. We begin this evening with our campus news.
In our campus news, USG held a meeting with Culinart last week about student concerns with on-campus dining options. The concerns included expanding vegetarian options, preventing cross-contamination, and problems with the weekend hours. President Pro Tempore Megan Ortega suggested students' busy schedules conflict with the bringing of issues as they happen. Culinart General Manager Christy Weiss was there present, to speak with the students. Weiss expressed her interest in rolling out new hours for the dining options come spring of 2019 semester. And in other USG news, a new club was proposed called Unplug. This club is designed to connect peers and dismantle cliques through group activities. Megan Riff, a representative of the club, said she was inspired to start the club after Pioneer Experience, otherwise known as freshman orientation, when it was found to be cliquey. The USG senators voted in favor of recognizing the new proposed club, with only 2 opposing and 1 absent. We have President Pro Tempore Megan Ortega with us this evening. Thanks, Megan, for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, you expressed a concern of students' busy schedules of not always allowing them to bring up the issues directly to Culinart when they happen. So what are some ways proposing students could discuss their concerns?
Well, I personally think that students can email the Student Concerns Committee through USG, so we have time to answer their concerns for them while they're on the go, since they can't always directly bring it up.
And I understand that you had a big visitor today at the meeting. Mr. Paul Hedigan was there?
Correct.
Can you discuss a little bit about what happened at the meeting today?
President Hennigan discussed things like tuition increases each year. He also discussed the Playhouse funding and told us all that it was not with tuition money, it was through fundraising, and that they have plans to start doing innovative learning, and that's their focus this year.
Now, did you get any more information on what the innovative learning techniques would be for the Playhouse?
He talked of hands-on experience. He said that he's confused as to why it took colleges so long to understand that hands-on is a lot better way of learning. And he also talked about the tuition gap between the conservatory and non-conservatory majors, and the reasoning being that they have more technology, and that's a part of the hands-on learning.
And now I understand that the new parliamentarian position has been announced. Can you tell me who the new parliamentarian is?
It's Matthew Spadesha. He's been in USG for this whole semester. He's also been representative in CAB, and we think he best fits for this position.
And can you just tell our viewers what the parliamentary position does for the USG?
So what parliamentarian basically is that they keep track of the Constitution and make sure everyone is following it.
All right, well, thanks, Megan, for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up after the break, we'll find the latest on what President Trump has been up to last week.
Go to our new website, uview.plainpark.edu.
Go, 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 go!
Join UView and find your herd.
Be like, join EOP. And 3, 2, join EOP.
I was just gonna grab them now, or else I will.
Yeah.
Join On Point with Politics. 3, 2, 1.
Join Pioneer Sideline.
Loneliest number that you'll ever do.
And coming up in this block, we'll look at what American politicians have been up to.
Former Vice President Joe Biden will be holding a rally in the Valley as he plans to visit just across the state line in the Mahoning Valley a week from today. Next Monday, Biden will be in Poland, Ohio at the Lake Club to hold a fundraiser for Richard Cordry's Democratic campaign for governor. According to the Youngstown Vindicator, Cordry's press secretary Michael Gwynn declined to name the location of the rally itself, but did provide that it will begin around 4 p.m. Dave Betras, chairman of the Mahoning Valley Democratic Party, said, quote, "The primary purpose of the 4 p.m. public rally is to get people excited about Cordry and get out the vote," end quote. Democrats are spreading their message eagerly as the Real Clear Politics database considers this race against Republican Mike DeWine to be a toss-up. Polls from Suffolk and Quinnipiac have Cordry leading by a spread of 2 to 6 points, but NBC News weighs it as a tie. This is one of the key races to watch not only in Ohio, but throughout the nation as America prepares for one of the most consequential midterm elections in modern history. And although the next election after this is still 2 years away, speakers like Vice President Biden are getting a feel for the playing field as they explore the possibility of running for higher office in 2020. Biden made a stop at Pittsburgh's Labor Day parade last month, and rumored Democratic candidates Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, and Kamala Harris have already started campaigning in early voting states such as Iowa and South Carolina as they prepare their fight against President Donald Trump.
Our reporter Andrew Brinker has the latest news on Trump's efforts to change the definition of the word gender.
The definition of gender may soon be changed by the Trump administration. According to a memo obtained by the New York Times, the current administration is considering developing a new, more limited legal definition of gender. The new definition would specifically restrict gender to the biological sex of a person at birth and subsequently limit protections against transgender discrimination and recognition of those in the transgender community. The decision comes after outrage from conservatives following the Obama administration's recognition of gender as how one chooses to identify, not necessarily based on biological sex. The memo, written by the Department of Health and Human Services, saying, quote, "The sex listed on a person's birth certificate as originally issued shall constitute definitive proof of a person's sex unless rebutted by reliable genetic evidence," end quote, would therefore do away with the recognition of over 1 million people who choose to identify as another gender than defined by their biological sex. According to NBC News, the transgender community has expressed their displeasure and fear brought on by the newly released memo and taken to Twitter, starting the hashtag #WeWon'tBeErased. The definition change is just one instance in a series of actions by the Trump administration against the transgender community. Rallies in support of transgender rights are being planned for Monday. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Andrew. Kimberly, President Trump has had a very busy week.
Yes, that's right, Jake. Per a report conducted by CNN, Republicans are looking to implement an additional tax break for middle-income Americans ahead of the midterm election after a campaigning rally in Elko, Nevada. Trump said Republicans Kevin Brady of Texas and House Speaker Paul Ryan of Wisconsin are working to develop a major tax cut for middle-income people. Trump said, quote, "If we do that, it will be just something prior, I would say, to November," end quote. It is unclear what tax proposal Trump was referring to on Saturday. Congress is currently ahead of the highly anticipated schedule election on November 6th. The proposed new tax cut is now more complicated with the announcement of the new balloon deficit caused by the previous tax cut plan passed by Congress Republicans last year. Trump's announcement comes after Democratic Senator Kamala Harris announced legislation is providing tax breaks for low and middle income families. Harris's plan would give tax credits of up to $6,000 per year for households earning less than $100,000 annually. It would offer tax credits for up to $3,000 for individuals earning under $50,000 per year. Trump acknowledged his landmark tax legislation on Saturday, adding that the new tax plan would not be for businesses.
And before we take a break, Across the state in PA's 10th Congressional District, one of the closest races in the Commonwealth has been heating up under the radar. Republican incumbent Scott Perry is facing off against Democrat George Scott, and the exchange has started to gain national attention. After a televised debate last Thursday night, the two candidates were able to voice their differences while further informing and dividing the voters. The 10th Congressional District was reconfigured this year and includes Dauphin County, Cumberland County from Carlisle East, and Central and Northern York County. The district leans Republican, but the independent analysis at 538 is forecasting Perry to win only 51% of the vote. This tight race is drawing a lot of outside attention, and with it, a lot of outside money. According to Penn Live, Scott's campaign is being lifted by ads produced by the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee that criticize Perry's votes on health care policy. Meanwhile, Perry's campaign got a major lift this week from American First Action, which bills itself as the nation's principal super PAC, supporting candidates who, quote, back the Trump-Pence agenda, end quote.
And when we come back, we'll find out if the Republicans or Democrats are making strides towards ruling Congress.
All that and more. Stay tuned.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family. Openness.
Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park.
Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
2-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
We are only weeks away from the midterms, and candidates are making their last efforts to take votes away from their opponents.
That's right, Kimberly. This is especially true in Texas. This week in Beto, the O'Rourke campaign is coming into the final few weeks of messaging throughout Texas, and the level of enthusiasm is larger than the state itself. O'Rourke continues to pack houses for his rallies and gain supporters, and he was recently awarded the endorsement of the Houston Chronicle, a newspaper which endorsed his opponent, incumbent Ted Cruz, 6 years ago. The Cruz campaign is bringing in some Houston firepower of its own, however, as President Donald Trump will be coming in to stump for his former GOP primary rival. Fox News personality Sean Hannity also stopped by Houston alongside the Cruz campaign and spent most of his stage time ranting about Beto and the Democratic Party. O'Rourke's youthful personality and charismatic demeanor have won him over with Texans, but it's still unclear if that will translate to votes. Cruz is currently leading in CNN and CBS polls by 6 to 7 points. The apparent lead for Republicans in Texas has also prompted President Trump to refer to O'Rourke as, quote, a total lightweight, end quote, and furthermore motivated Democrats to head to the midterm polls.
Our polls reporter Dennis McDermott has the latest on who is predicted to gain control of the Senate.
Thanks, Kimberly. 2 weeks have passed since I did my first set of Senate predictions, and the race to control the Senate is still as close as ever. When we last left off, the Democrats had been making significant gains for months, riding a wave of momentum that appeared as though it would win them the Senate. That wave has appeared to have finally started to slow, despite the Dems gaining a slight leads in 2 more states. Unfortunately for the Democrats, It does not matter how many more toss-up states they gain, as they would need to steal a state from the Republicans to gain a majority in the Senate. As of right now, there is only one state that is possible in, Tennessee. Not only do the Democrats have to win all three of the current toss-ups all three of the current toss-ups, they would have to flip a state that has not been had a Democratic senator since 1995. Our list of states to watch has only slightly changed, as the Minnesota special election now appears to be safely in the hands of the Democrats. However, the colors of the now 12 states to watch have now changed. If we take a look at our close states, Texas has joined the list of states that currently are out of the reach of the hands of the Democrats, with the Mississippi special election and the North Dakota election remaining in the hands of the Republicans. The reason for Ted Cruz's newfound success in Texas may be able to be attributed to Donald Trump's increased interest in the results of the state's election. Trump has set aside his differences with Ted Cruz, who he has previously referred to as a maniac, a sniveling coward, and, more notably, lying Ted. Because of their past together, there is doubt among the voters that the president and Cruz are as close as they now say they are, which may cause support to slowly swing back in favor of Cruz's challenger, Beto O'Rourke. If we move to our leading states, you will see that the Democrats have gained slight margins in both Florida and Indiana. One thing to keep in mind with these states, however, is that these margins are still very close and could still swing over to their opponents. Florida, for example, has flipped more than 5 times since I started my predictions in August. West Virginia has found itself shifting slightly towards the Republicans, but remains Democratic for now, and both Tennessee and Montana have not experienced any change. Finally, if we bring up our toss-up states, we'll see Nevada, Arizona, Missouri, and Missouri, which are all sitting in the same spots they were last week, as too close to call. That brings us to the end of today's predictions, with the final tally being with the Democrats having 47, the Republicans with 50, which is what the number they need to retain a majority, and 3 states that are too close to call. This means that the Republicans will, as of right now, retain control of the Senate. I'm Dennis McDermott. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Dennis. Well, that's all we have for this time. Join us next time. I'm Jake Berlin.
And I'm Kimberly Kege. We hope you stay on point with your politics.